Hello people! So this is a new video for the Oriclopedia. I don't really have any structured plan on what to do and in which order. I'm just basically trying to cover what seems to be interesting while mixing a bit of things. Recently on the Defense Force forum there's been somebody asking if it was possible to make a catalog of the tapes. And that reminds me that I actually had something like that in one of my first videos that you can find in another playlist, where basically I had this software which I think came from Theoric, where I could list all these programs with the starting address, the type, basic, assembler. In this tape was one about my Macintosh-based painting program, thing like that. And all this was printed out with the Oric MCP-40 printer. And I thought maybe I should just do a video about the Oric MCP-40. So you probably remember this document from one of the first videos from Tomsoft. This part was mostly about the software, but there was also a part about the hardware. The Oric Atmos 16K, which does not exist, on the Oric 4-color printer, 150 sterling pound, in the same black and red packaging, which we also find here. Oric Atmos Oric 1 MCP-40 printer, also for 150 pounds, special offer 79.95. And back in the days I did have one, but it was sold with the rest of the machine. But I had this small rest of what I had back in the days, including a bunch of listings, some written very small, and a lot of so this is a printer, and a lot of actual printout of images. So I did like to print graphics from the actual Oric games. So that one is Triathlon from Air Informatique. This is for the local newspaper of my school, the Chevrolet New, about the word processor. And then a bit of mini games, attempt at printing in different colors. I think I was trying to implement to correct what we call the hard copy. As you can see, in colors, this is the character from strip 21. This is the way I was signing back in the days. A real ray tracing from Theoric, complete with the missing reflection of bad data. Graphyscope, which was a graphic tablet at the time, not very good one. And since this was using a lot of ink, at some point I started to basically colorize them. Ninjas, which I believe was the name of the group of Boy Scouts I was a member of. This is Dr. Genius, with Le Retour du Dr. Genius, with Le Monde, an extract of the newspaper in the game, and the actual real title in the game. This was Erodi, was a guy in my classroom which was doing some actual drawing on paper. I was making the Oric versions. I wish I had traces, but so probably, yeah, graphics I did in 84, 85. Another one from Erodi, that was also him. Printout of fractals. These are not actually Oric, that's Amstrad TPC. This is also Amstrad TPC. This, on the other hand, was made on the MCP-40. I was using that for doing my math assignment, and if you look here, you can see that the curve is kind of blopping under 0. It's a bug in the ROM function, sine, cosine. This is a small guy from Lorograph. And then some more thing, an attempt at converting a Barbarian of Psygnosis. I think that was for a Ghostbuster game, and etc, etc. So yeah, some more screenshots. What a lot of people don't know is that the MCP-40 is actually one of many. So that one is very similar to the actual Oric version of the printer. That was the Sega SP-400. But what characterizes all these printers is that they all use the exact same, or some variant sometimes, mechanics from a company called ALPS. So that one is obviously like the Oric one. But the Atari 1020 has the same mechanics inside, as do the Commodore 1520 and the Radio Shack something for the TRS-80, the printer that comes, the X-710, which comes with the Canon X-710, the Sharp, I think it's a CE-150, the Aquarius, which had a similar printer. So they all look different, but it's all the same hardware inside. The Texas Instrument, and an interesting variant I found, which is the Silver Reed Color Pengraph EB50. Technically, it has the same mechanics. You can recognize the same characteristic, a small rotating system with the 4 colors. The main difference is that this one is full width A4 display, and it has native support for italics, graphics like cheese graph and things like that. It also has underline and things. So all these things are done by software, but we don't have that in the Oric version of the printer. And here comes the printer itself. So this printer was originally bought in 85, imprimante MCP-40 for the price of 1,560 francs, and the year after bought 4 stylus for the printer, and for the price of 49, and some rolls of paper at 25 francs. And inside, so you can see the box has been a bit bashed, but it's mostly there. So let's open it. Trying to not destroy the poor thing. So, since that one was bought in France, it has 2 manuals. It has the original Oric MCP-40 manual in English and the one in French. Congratulations for selecting this high-quality, low-cost color printer. The low-cost part is true, at least for the printer. It is not true for the consumable, which I guess is still valid today. Standard roll paper, 4.48 inches wide by 56 meter long, which is also 114 millimeters. And these things are getting kind of difficult to find in some countries, which means you have to import them, and paper is heavy, so that you end up paying more in postage than an actual product. So how to install the pen, etc, etc. And that one shows the Oric One version of the printer, complete with pictures. But it's basically the same thing as what is inside here. And the printer itself, with the 4 color stylus, a roll of paper, power cable. That's a standard like used on most tape drive. And the printer cable. I wish it was black. I guess I'm going to replace that one of these days. And here we have the printer. So nothing special. Here's a power connector, 200 volt port. Yeah, Oric MCP-40 color printer, no user serviceable part, which is actually not correct, as we will see. Because if you buy one of these, or oh yeah, on test, which is important. If you buy one of these, there is a non-null probability, and it's valid also for the Commodore one and the Atari one, that some of the small gears inside are broken, but we'll show that you can find them online for not too bad the price. So let's connect all that. So this goes to this connector here on the Oric. So there we are, we have the printer. We need to install the pens. We need to put the paper first. So for doing that, we just put it here. Just do that like that. So it's difficult to put the paper. So line feed. Let's put that here. Tighten a little bit. Yeah. And then we can put the pens. So there is a pen change button. As you can see, there are colors here. This thing is red, black. So the first one is the black pen. So every time you put or remove, you have to use this small thing here. So up. Color select. Then the blue pen. Color select. The green pen. And finally the red pen. And we can just use line feed to say that we are done. So and then to test that everything works fine, you can rewind a bit, switch off and switch on. And on startup it will do the auto test. So we can see that the black is a bit washy-washy, the blue, green and red is fine. And it's highly recommended to put back the pen in the tube. And if you don't use the printer for a while, like one day, you should totally put them back, else they dry out and it gets very bad. One thing to know is that if you start the printer while pressing the line feed button, you get the display of all the font. So it's going to start by the squares. So every time the printer needs to change a color, it has to go back on the left side because there is no actual motor on the small trolley. The system to rotate is a small gear, so we have to go on the left side, and then the things happen. Which also means that when you try to do a printout like what I was showing you earlier in multicolor, you need to optimize the color changes, especially if you go to one of the color you go to blue, back to black, it will have to rotate to go to green, rotate to go to red, and then rotate to go to black, which is not optimized at all. But yeah, that's something we get used to. So how do you use the printer? If you had the Oric 1 manual, there is not much. Chapter 14, using a printer. Oric may be used blah 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 with any printer, printer test, display the character set, including from 0 to 255, which is not necessarily a good idea. Some printer will start to do some page display of web characters or change, so that's totally a bad idea. The list instruction, which print out a listing, lprint on a few control code, and that's it. Not very good. But the Oric Atmos manual is much better. So the section about Appendix 7, Oric MCP-40 printer use, goes through all the characters, the actual details about the accuracy, the actual language that you can use when you're printing with some escape code to change the color, draw in actual mathematical mode from X position to another position, in absolute or relative mode. Various type of line drawing from solid to dash to dots. The actual orientation, so you can draw in all four directions, on the size of the character set, going from very small to super giant. And there are some examples on how to draw signs and things like that, which is kind of cool. And obviously the first thing you do when you get one of these printers is to go through all the tests and have fun. So the first thing you do is to waste heaps of paper on all the demonstration things, which is why you tend to need a lot of roll. Demonstration MCP-40, printable characters. Considering that this thing has been printed out like 30 years ago, that's some pretty decent quality. So the paper turned to yellow, not always, but what was printed was actually printed. And I found some old December 1983 on a hardware magazine about Oric microdisc and the actual printer. So I can probably show that later, but they are showing details about the connectics, the various pinout, how the thing is built inside. So you can see the trolley and the various mechanics. The actual circuit board inside, and some more details on the comparison of small characters versus a big A. And some other examples of graphical you can do easily with that. So I was talking about the consumable. The typical failure is these small gears here. So you can find now some people are making them using 3D printing, but you can also find some new old stocks, like that one which I got at an American company, was it Best Electronics? And you can see that these things are very tiny. And basically it happens when people are trying to move things violently, or when there is a bad bumps, so highly not recommended. And regarding the compatibility, so there are many printers which use similar stylus systems. So not all are compatible with Atmos, some are using very large paper and things like that. But basically, if you find stylus that works on the Astron MCP-40, Atari 2020, browser MCP-80, Canon X-710, Casio FP100, FA10, FA11, Commodore 1520, Gould DS1604, Grayson Stadler GSI E27, Heinemann Interacoustics, these ones are actually medical equipment, I believe. Mitutoyo Digimatic Mini Processor, DP2 and DP3D, etc., etc. They all use similar type of pens. And you can often find two sets of four. Some with four colors, and some with only black. So if you are going to do a lot of printing of just text, I will recommend putting four black pens, and when the printer starts to get displaying a bit weak, you just switch color select to go to the next set of pen. You can't write kilometers with these things. It's just ballpoint pen, so they go very fast, which has been a problem when I was testing my kindergarten, or was it Oric printer demo. So while the development of this demo, line feed, it's on another YouTube on my channel, I printed this, and this, and this. Basically, I used, and there are a lot of, which I don't have here, but I basically almost use a full set of pens and half a roll of paper, which is why it's often rewind to avoid using rolls after rolls of paper, which is not cool. Another thing that people often did with these things is to print out actual game listings to see how they were done. So if you know the Oric welcome tape, here are the listing of the Oric welcome tape. Use the left and right arrow key to move your car around obstacles. Blah blah blah. Would you like to try again? Oric Panic. I have no idea. That probably you are the CHR 35 and your objective is to collect everything, but ghosts are following you. Yeah, okay, so that looks like source code for a Pac-Man style game. All that was in the box when I received it. It's not new printed yet. On this, on the other hand, was some of my source code. So what I was doing back in the days was I was printing the thing, and I will cross and cut, and I will basically do patches, keeping the last version of each of the subroutines in its own small sheet of paper. And maybe you're wondering why I have the Oric actually there, since I did not really use it. Well, it's because there were this super cool thing, écriture stylée sur MCP-40, which is a small listing from the magazine Theoric, which allows you to do some very cool things. Oh, and by the way, I updated the system with a switch, which is cool. And this is a device called Cumulus. Which basically emulates the floppy drive. This is a test of the écriture stylée sur Oric MCP-40. Let's see if that works. I think I need to clean up the keyboard. Oriclopedia. Control X, and let's see. So, I'm not sure maybe I can zoom. So as you can see, and I don't know why it's doing the dot, but basically this is simulating some handwritten, okay, L list. So this is the normal font. So here we can see how the thing works. So need to reserve. Oops. And I put that. And then I can do ZZ dollar equal this is a test followed by call 9615. And normally you should see that it's a totally different font versus LPrint. This is a test. Can see that's very different. So I was actually using this sometimes to send some letters. In one of the magazines I saw that somebody actually made a small thing that you can put on top to actually print out letters, envelopes. You need to remove one of the pens, else you get some nasty lines. But yeah, basically that's what you can do. There are also some games which natively support the printer, like Chess 2. If you have the printer connected, it will, if you enable that, it will display all the coordinates of what was played by each of the players, which I think is a cool idea. So yeah, I guess that's pretty much all I had to say on the MCP-40. One of these days I will explain how the Cumulus works, and if you are wondering, the box behind is a speech synthesizer. But yeah, that's all for today. Bye bye!